All right, Bannock County Commissioners are in session on Monday, July 7th. Looks like everybody survived the weekend. Good to see that. So glad we're here, and we need to go into the Board of Equalization. So I would entertain a motion.
I'd make that motion.
All right, we have a motion to enter into the Board of Equalization. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so I've got to read this, and Clark, I'm sorry you might have to hear this again. My name is Jeff Huff, and I'm Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, and the purpose of this board is to hear property assessment appeals and to ensure that all assessments are fair, equitable, and in accordance with Idaho state law. According to Idaho Code 63-502, our role is confined strictly to assuring that the market value for assessment purposes of your property has been properly determined by the assessor. We are not here to discuss taxes. Before we begin, it's crucial for you to understand your role in the process. Under Idaho law, you as the taxpayer have the burden of proof. However, you only need to provide a sufficient amount of factual evidence to sustain your burden of proof. A sufficient amount of factual evidence means that you can provide evidence of recent sales or comparables in your area, professional appraisals, evidence of property condition, damage, or limitations, documentation of factors affecting the market value, and or photographs showing the property condition. This is a formal hearing, and we ask that all testimony be respectful, relevant, and based on factual information, not opinion. All individuals providing testimony will be sworn in. Each party will be given 3 minutes to present their case. First, the appellant will go, followed by a response from the assessor's office. The commissioners may ask questions anytime through there, and at the end, our decision will be based on whether you've met the preponderance of evidence standard and all relevant factors affecting your property's market value as of the assessment date of January 1st. After our decision, you'll receive a letter outlining that decision, and you will have the opportunity after today, if you so choose, to appeal it at either the district court or at the state board of appeals, should you choose to, and that information will be in that letter that you get sent afterwards. So with that, Nancy, will you please swear in all those who are willing to, or who will be testifying today? So if you'll be testifying, stand up.
Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you give today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Let's see. Who wants to be first after lunch is the question. Okay, we'll take it.
All right.
Who are you?
My name is David Gorham.
Oh, David, okay.
175-400 Alaska.
So David, go ahead and sit down, introduce yourself, and then your time will begin after you're done introducing yourself.
Okay. My name is David Gorham, the appellant for parcel RPRPP OC 175-400. In the submitted evidence that I provided, there is a number of deferred maintenance issues that were not clear from the initial purchase of the property. Primary thrust of those is a single membrane roof that covers approximately 90% of the square footage, which is, in a polite engineering term, shot. I have a quote from 2024 for it, which was $70,228 for replacement. To call it a roof is generous, but there are a number of large capital expenses that are not maintained and or are past their expected engineering life in service. So I do not dispute the parcel value. I dispute the improvement value. I put in what the logic was for arriving at a total parcel value of $854,050. Is the presumption that you guys have read the evidence beforehand? Yep. Okay, so I believe I made that clear. I'm not sure if you're allowed to consider use alongside of it, but we do have a number of charitable and 501c3 applications as well. I'm just trying to make the community better, and I think that the value is too high. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Questions from the assessor's office?
No questions.
Okay. I'd like to commend you on the evidence you submitted. Good job. Thank you for that. So any questions from the board at this time?
Not at this point.
Okay. Assessor, state your name and your time to begin.
Jason Hooker, Bannock County Assessor's Office, Commercial Department. In reviewing the appeal, I took a look at what our other appraiser that put this together had put in, and one of the things that we had noticed is, according to our overhead imagery, it does appear that up as early as, or as recent as 2018, there were some sort of updates to the roof, and our recommendation, based on what sounds like there are still ongoing concerns with the roof, is we had a recommendation to lower the improvement value to $750,494, which would be a total assessed value of $977,630. Right now, we have the building listed as an effective age of 1999, which gives it an effective age of 26 years. It means that we do feel it is reaching the end of its useful life. It sounds like there may be a small discrepancy between what we are observing from the exterior and what the appellant is observing overall as the property owner, but that would be our recommendation to the board today.
Okay. Questions from the board? Do you have any questions on what they said?
No questions on the statement of the statements that were provided. I would just say the damage is more severe. That's my contention.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board?
So how long have you been there?
We bought it in August of 2022. We began, or 23, one of those 2 years. It's in the write-up.
It says
22. We began operating in November of the same year out of that location. We had Plas cut out the lifts and everything else that I believe was also included in the value. And so we've been operating out of there for approximately, 3 years-ish, 2.5. We took it over. It was formerly the Robert Allen.
Right.
It was abandoned for, I believe, 3 years. Not only was no maintenance performed, a lot of systems were left to degrade.
We bought the property across the street.
Oh, village? Yeah.
That's where the village is.
I bet you found some treasures too.
And so you're thinking the assessed value should be $854.
Yes, I don't dispute the parcel value. I just think the improvements are in far worse condition than apparent from the outside. And that wasn't the worst of the flooding. That was what I was able to catch when I thought I was going to appeal. There are sometimes it fills up that entire room with the gas heater,
Okay.
which is suboptimal.
So, I haven't been in that building for quite a while. We actually went in that as a county a few years ago and looked at that. So is the leak over the front office part of that, or the back where the model mechanics area were?
So there are leaks all over the building. In the back where they have the locker room, there are severe leaks. In the bay area on the east side, there are severe leaks. We replaced 10% of the roof, which is the shingled section with wooden trusses that faces the alley. That's approximately 10% of the footage. We replaced that in October of 2022, but there are leaks all throughout the single membrane stretch. Every corner of the building on 5th Street. There are some leaks that go into the business side. Those were patched enough where we're able to divert them into like the lobby area because we do have a physical therapist office there. So it leaks everywhere but the carpeted section, which I would call the offices, sir.
Okay, so my other question of it is, I didn't see on here what you actually did, and maybe I need to go back through there. So this shows your purchase price when you purchased it
Yes.
in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
$793K approximately.
okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm looking at this, and I mean, there's some good evidence in there on both sides. But he's got a quote here for about $70,000. They've gone down 40,000 already, and if we go another 30,000, that's kind of the ballpark I'm in.
So then that would be,
930 basically.
okay.
And if I may, I did get one more of the quote for the 3 rooftop air units. It is almost exactly $60,000. I think it was like 59 and change. So I do not expect a strong deviation other than probably a 10% increase in the overall roof replacement. Because that's a 2024 quote.
And at this point, we're just looking at the bids for the roof. Any additional expenses you're going to incur undoing the damage that was done on the inside of the building?
I don't know. So when we replaced the roofing section, like I said, with the shingles, it was something like 85% of the trusses were damaged or cracked, like it was a total replacement job. I don't think with the single membranes construction you will find much more beyond that 70,000. I was trying not to be too aggressive and assume damage.
Okay,
I know that it will have to be replaced. I'm assuming that will include any fixes that will need to happen.
okay.
I also don't know how long the leaks have been at this scale. So I was just trying to be honest with the quote that I had.
Okay. My question for, have we been able to get inside that building?
I don't show that we've recently done a re-inspect, no, not in recent years.
Okay. That's what always scares me is not seeing on both sides.
If you'd like to, come on in.
Well,
Door's open.
So 9:30?
And I'm okay with Commissioner Moser's recommendation. It's kind of a, because we have not inspected it, we don't know what fully the damage is, but I do agree that there is value there. It's in a very good market, so I think I'd go ahead and concur.
So go ahead and make a motion then.
Mr. Chair, on parcel RPRPP OC 175400, I'd make a motion that we adjust the total to $930,000 with the adjustment coming off the improvement.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion on that?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we kind of met you halfway, and you'll get a letter outlining this again, like we talked about, and if you choose to appeal it, the instructions for that will be in the letter, so you can either go to district court or the state BOE.
Understood. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Driscoll. Well, Mr. Driscoll, but, you know, representing Driscoll, how's that?
Yes, my name is Braden Driscoll. You ready for me to introduce myself?
You bet. Go for it, Brady.
I'm the owner of Driscoll Investments, LLC. I do work for the other Driscolls. I'm related, but that's not
You're not.
their property. I've owned just a few properties, small. So yeah, I think maybe my biggest concern in my approach is a little more maybe on the income value, where this is a commercial building. This is parcel RPSVS 000200. It's a commercial building. Just the big jump in the, I've got it here, the change in value each of the last 2 years as far as the assessed value just has me concerned maybe more from the income side of it. I purchased the building in 2017. The rent at the time was $26 a square foot, and when I renewed with this, or I lost that tenant, the building went vacant for 9 months. This is my first commercial building, and I realize that the value of these properties really are based on what income they can produce. And so my new tenant came in at $4,600. It's now up to $5,000 a month, which is $19.70 per square foot. I've just seen a trend down, and kind of concerning with the commercial buildings, even in this area, that with the work from home and COVID and going through that change, that I'm nervous myself that the value is even staying above $500,000 for the potential. The lease for this building comes up next year, so I've got one more year with the current tenant. I hope that they renew, but just seeing the jump in values over the last 2 years compared to what I see as the trend on the income that can be generated off the property don't quite match up. And I know my appeal is based more on maybe the income approach than the cost to build. But realistically, what drives the value of the property will be the income that it can generate there, and that's got me a little bit concerned. I'm not, disputing the value necessarily of the parcel either itself, but the building, those two added together, I think would be more in line around $560,000. Again, I'm hopeful that value is even, if I went to sell that building today, I would hope that I could get $560,000. I'm not real confident that I could. However, I don't necessarily have, this being kind of my first appeal, necessarily have a lot of data to support that. It's just more the kind of the feel that I have on the commercial and trying to get a previous tenant and the different negotiations I had back in 2020
Okay.
on that. so.
Okay. Any questions from the assessor at this point in time?
No questions.
Anything from the board?
When did you purchase this building?
2017?
2017.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
Was that engineering that was in there at that time?
No, it was Farmers Insurance was the first
Okay.
tenant. It was built for them by MBA Construction.
I guess I'm thinking of a different building.
The tenant that's in there now is David Evans Engineering is the current tenant.
Okay.
That was, if I recall correctly, the fall of 2020. No, excuse me, maybe the fall of 2021. I get my dates mixed up a little bit in there when they occupied the building.
Okay. Any
Okay.
questions?
No, not this time.
Assessor?
Oh, when we reviewed the property, the assessed value was really based from the cost approach, cost to build, added depreciation for the year. It's an 8-year-old building. And when we considered the income approach, it's kind of one of those things where, from the appellant's information, the income has come down, but the rate that they're getting right now, we still find it to be at the top end of what we're seeing for a lot of office space. So it didn't give us any opportunities for adjustment from the income approach. And so our opinion is just that we ask you uphold the value.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
This is why I ask when you purchased the building, because since 2019, the value hasn't raised. And then in the last 2 years, it's tried to catch up with the market. And that's, to me, that's what's happened. And we have quite a few facilities like that. But from 2019 to 2023, it basically hasn't increased at all. The land value hadn't increased, and the improvements, I mean, in 2023 it was 42, 50, 50, and in 19 it was 410200. I mean, that's not much of a raise in 5 years. So I'm just saying that you got a 2-year catch up.
I guess it's not really an issue, it's more of a concern that, although I appreciate the position, we would have loved to have seen you come with some evidence of other comparables and whatever. We're only basically, all we have is for you to say, it seems to have gone up, and there just doesn't seem to be much to support your position on that, which unfortunately that's the reason of this. So with that, I think I'm inclined to uphold the assessors just because of a lack of any other reason to go any other direction.
Okay. Is that a
Need a
motion?
motion?
Is that a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that parcel RPRPSVS000200, that we uphold the value of the assessors.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we upheld the assessed value. Again, you'll get a letter outlining this, and should you choose to appeal, you can do so either in district court or at the State Board of Appeals, and the letter will have all that information there for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Clark?
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, just a follow-up from our last week's conversation on the two buildings, 50,000 and this 100,000 square foot. I don't know if you need the parcel numbers again.
Nope, we have them, or do you want them, Nancy?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, since Commissioner Moser was the one that asked for some time to think about it, so I'm going to give Commissioner Moser the floor at this time to state where he's at.
I reviewed these, and I appreciate your chart and your tenants. The use doesn't tell me a lot, and I've told you that before, when it just says that it meets our purpose of the health department, our Board of Health Trust. Anyway, but as I look through these and the tenants, and yeah, some of them are nonprofits and stuff like that, but if you don't own the ground, you don't get or claim that ability. So we've never allowed anybody that didn't own the property not to get the tax exemption, even
So-
if they were nonprofits that were renting and leasing. So that's what we've done in the past. I have a church right over here that they rent out 2 houses, and they have to pay taxes on those 2 houses, even though they're a church. And so looking through this, anything that you are charging, and even if they're a nonprofit, I think that that part of it is taxable. But you also have some of them that you're, like the Boys and Girls Club and City of Pocatello and children, Friends of the Children, that you don't charge. And so that should be non-taxed, in my opinion, because you're not charging them, you're not gaining off of them. So that's the way I kind of looked at it through here. And
So then do you have a kind of Clark made an offer, so do you have a comeback offer to him or place you want to stand?
so on the 11th Avenue properties, I'm not, like I said, I'm just going through here. The ones that you've highlighted in yellow, feeling that they should be tax exempt. I don't think that Badger should be, or Bannock Development, or, like I say, Bannock Development, we give $70,000 to. I think they're already gaining off that. Some of these others, like Health West and the free clinic and stuff, most of them are on Medicare, no, Medicaid. So taxpayers are paying the bill for them anyway. So I feel like the taxpayers are doubled up. So I wouldn't change those that are paying rent and that taxpayers are already paying into.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, then on the 11th, on 11th Street, you would uphold the assessed value completely? Or did I misunderstand?
That's correct, the way I look at it.
Okay.
I don't see any additions.
All right, then on the property, on the other one that has the multiple parcel numbers on it, that's the one that has the City of Pocatello and the Friends of Children that you
Yeah.
noticed.
And so like, there's Health West again, and there's Hospital Corporation, and University Financial.
Universal Financial, I think I pulled that, I left that one out.
Yeah, you left it off.
Yeah.
So,
They do, the co-ops, they help handle the health insurance for the local hospitals,
my wife used to work there,
yeah.
so.
So on that one, Clark, the ones that have the yellow are the ones that you're asking for?
Addition.
Yeah, that I was gonna pull out, and so it would bring the percent from the 43% up to the 69%.
Right, okay. I just want to make sure I'm looking at
And
the right one.
James was not able to come because he's still out of town, but I guess my question goes back to, is it because we're a 501c3, wouldn't we qualify for property tax exemption? Not necessarily that they're 501c3, but because it's part of our mission to provide healthcare to the Bannock County and surrounding area. That's the reason we have our 501c3 status.
And it's like Commissioner Boyd said the other day, just because you're a 501c3 doesn't mean that you're tax exempt. It means that you're IRS.
It's, the pure definition of it's, the IRS is what grants the income tax exempt. But if I'm not, but a 501c3 doesn't guarantee you not having to pay sales tax.
Right. We
So you still have to pay sales tax, you still have to pay other taxes. Here again, there's so many designations with those 501c3s that I think is still convoluted on some of that. That was my offer up, because I've been a 501c3, and we used to always battle with people and say, you still have to charge a sales tax, you still have to do that because the tax exempt status is IRS only. But there again, I'm not the legislature, and I don't know what their intent is and doing all their statutes there
Well,
either, so.
This isn't the first time we've gone through this. And
Yeah.
every time we've talked to our attorney, they says that we're within our bounds.
Yeah, and I said James is not able to come, but maybe we could do a meeting with your council and one of the three of you. So, and I'd like to go through the Idaho Supreme Court letter where it specifies what is property tax exemption. There's 8 categories in there that you don't have to meet all of them, but you have to meet some of them. And I mean, I'd be willing to do that if you're able to do that too.
That final decision ends up being this board right here.
Right.
Unless you can appeal that. You can just appeal our decision, but this just bothers me to no end, and I understand what the statute is. To be quite honest, I don't necessarily agree with the statute. And my logic and reasoning is that if Bannock County, or what I'm saying is, if Portland of Health Trust was not providing what their mission is to make things healthier, and some of this is mental health, some of this is drug related, some of it's all this other stuff. If, in my opinion, because of what's taken place under the umbrella of Port of Health Trust being the landlord, we're saving tons of money from the jail. Because when we were at this before, the jail, we were basically paying out of county because we couldn't take all of the people. But now, because of the crisis center, we don't have to send them through the Portneuf Hospital.
Right.
And tying up officers up there, tying up medical personnel. So in my mind, the good for the community with all of this, with the free clinic, with all this other stuff, to me, in my mind, and here again, the amount of savings to the taxpayers of Bannock County is tremendous. And if we're butting heads with the statute, which our attorney agrees that it is, I think there's a conflict there. I'd love to get that thing resolved, and whether it takes some more legal minds than mine, or maybe we need a better definition, and I don't know what that is. But the public itself is benefiting from having you guys with that facility, with what you've got up there, with and I don't want to use the word poor, but the less advantaged, the people who do not have any other place to go, with the free clinic and all of that other stuff. Now, if there are some things in there or making money off of them, then fine, we need to exclude that. But I guess I'm right there, that I'm just as conflicted as ever, trying to figure out how the statute, how Bannock County's best version of themselves, how do we reconcile that?
Correct.
And so, nothing against Port of Health Trust, nothing against you, but how do we keep the attorney satisfied on one hand, the statute, and the needs of what we're trying to do within your mission? I agree that your mission is to, you're not reaping profits that you can take and make money off of, you're pouring it back into the community. I think there's an area there. Sorry about all this discourse, but
And you're correct, we don't have shareholders,
Yeah.
we don't get profit sharing or anything like that, so, it's a 501c3, so.
Yeah.
The only people that benefit is the county and the surrounding areas.
And the residents, the taxpayers.
Yes.
And or whoever, their medical issues on there. So, I mean, I agree with Commissioner Moser about the statute that says you have to own that, but you are owning it, it's under your mission, and so I'm still leaning towards compassion to these people that are benefiting from the county, and the county actually benefiting from all those people being served there, from the D6 to the health. Everybody else is on that scale of getting some help there. And if we lose that exemption off of there, then somebody's got to charge more. That's a shell game to me. But anyway, sorry about that long discourse. But
2 years ago, we had a little old lady that owned one of the churches in town. The
Yeah.
church didn't get tax exempt
Yeah.
because they didn't own the property either.
Yeah.
So it goes to both sides there.
yeah, that statute gives me just a little bit of uncomfortableness with that it's just that hard and fast. But anyway.
But I guess my question is we're not a church, so we shouldn't be pigeonholed the same way type thing, and so it's like.
But it's the
are
same
we-
statute that you're talking about.
Is there any property 501c3s that get tax exemptions? Are we the only one that has gotten a partial one? Or over the last, 10 years, 15 years, we was getting 100% property tax exemption, and it's only been within the last 4 or 5 years that we've
Right.
started to.
And that's the purview of the board on those exemptions, whether to grant or not, and that's been the shift in the board in regards to that, and our interpretation and the attorney's interpretation of that statute. And so, and I'm conflicted because I'm halfway between both of them, to be very honest with you. I think, to Commissioner Bullock's thing, you do a lot of good for the community, and you do save us money on one side. On the other side, I also agree with Commissioner Moser that in some instances, we're almost double dipping against the taxpayers, and so I'm stuck. I really am. And right now, my mind just says, why don't we just split it 50-50 and go from there? Put both valuations, give you 50% reduction on both properties, and go from there. See if that works. Discussion on that proposal. Not giving him what he wants on either, but
Well,
also
then
nodding.
I'm not against any of it, but there's the logic behind it. I mean,
Right.
just because I agree with Kenny, I mean, Portland Health Trust, you look around town, you do a lot of good. But it's also how we treat others, and you're not the only one that we do evaluate. Since we've been in office, we've looked at these papers, and actually we went to the long form so we'd get more information, because we didn't have the information to make the decisions that we're making. And so we have quite a few that, like I say, that are tax exempt, and then they rent this part of the building, or they do that. And so okay, you gotta pay taxes on that. I mean, the Levitt Center over here is the same way, and they have a house there that they rent out. Okay, you gotta pay taxes on that part. And we have quite a few of them, not just Portland Health Trust, that we've evaluated and come up with a solution. So a 50% solution, I mean, so,
See, we've turned people down. We've had attorneys that's wanted to rent space. We said, no, you're not part of our mission. And so we've turned people away that's wanted to rent office space because we're going, no, they got to be healthcare related, mental health, helping the lower incomed people, free clinic and things like that. So it's got to be part of our mission. So that's the only reason, it's like the church that rents the house. Well, that's not really part of their mission, but with us, it is part of the mission.
and that's part of my argument there, is as you're the ones that decided what your mission was, and what the definition is, and how you feel that is, but you're taking taxpayer dollars to fund your mission, in my opinion. And so I have the obligation to look at the taxpayer and say, okay, why should my parents fund something here in Pocatello when they lived in Inco? I mean, I've been hit with that before. As soon as you hit the gap, I mean, why are my tax dollars going towards this and all this stuff that's in Pocatello? And I don't get any benefit out of it, but my tax dollars are paying for it. So that's where I argue a little bit about, it depends what your mission is, because the free clinic, that's their mission. I mean, it's a good deal. And you guys benefit them, and we benefit them, and then, like I said, so does Medicare, Medicaid. I mean, it's a tough responsibility for us to evaluate everybody and say, okay, you don't get to pick and choose for everybody, but we do support what you're doing. So maybe a 50-50 is a place to start.
I want to tell you how much I appreciate you bringing this offer to us. That definitely gave us something to think at and ponder and consider. So I very much appreciate your coming forth with that offer. Ken, where are you at? What are you thinking?
Well, we got to move somewhere, because we're going to be battling this thing every year forever, and nobody enjoys it. I think I would support that. With what I would love to see is you have an attorney that represents you. He's also a member of the legislature. Somewhere we have got to figure out a better avenue that gives us some guidance on that. If it's to adjust that statute, if that's not the real intent of that statute, then what should it be? And I would encourage your attorney, who actually has your best interest at heart, who also has the legislature, to maybe help us fix this thing. So I think for a one-year deal, I'm okay with, I think the 50% thing I would probably support this year, not wanting to set a precedent, but because of your mission, because of the good of the community, I think I would support that, at least this time around.
Okay, thank you.
Well, then I'll make a formal motion and we can decide what to do from there. So on parcel RPPOC 152800, and then on multiple parcels RPPOC, the one ending in 502, the one ending in 606, the one ending in 703, and the one ending in 1003, and parcel ending in 1302, that we adjust the assessed value down 50%, with the adjustment coming off of the improvement value and not the land. Does that make sense, Nancy?
For the exemption?
Yes. Well, no, it's not an exemption.
It is. It is an exemption, a tax exemption.
Okay.
That's what.
Well,
The value would still be there, you're just exempting the tax.
okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. That's probably the cleaner way to do that. Okay, further discussion?
Nope.
Anything else, Ken?
No, and I would encourage somehow to give Anita and the assessor's office something to work with as well too. So, I mean, this don't just help us, it will help the assessment parcel of this, so that it might help them give guidance and direction to other people as well, who will meet a certain criteria, because we have to be fair. So
So to be
With that-
clear, we're not messing with the value, we're
Yeah.
granting a 50% exemption on the assessed value.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Did you have something else?
Nope, I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear and was on the same page. At this point, it's just granting the 50% exemption, and hopefully in the future, we can work this thing through a little easier and quicker for both parts.
You're right.
Okay,
And I will go back and meet with James and see if
Okay.
I can get him to do something with legislature, because I agree. If we could get it clear, it would be beneficial to everybody in all the counties.
Yeah,
correct.
absolutely. So,
Okay, with that, we have a motion on the floor. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
thanks, Clark.
You
Thank
bet.
you,
Thank
Clark.
you. Appreciate it.
I believe that is it for
You had this one that didn't show up,
Oh,
that we
yeah.
said didn't need to show up, but he was on the agenda.
Yeah, that's right.
Piece of property.
I inadvertently shut that one down. So that's Dan Hargraves. And this is parcel, where'd it go?
RPGTD008900.
Thank you. Pellet is not here, and the assessor has made a recommendation. You want to just go over that real quick, Jason?
Yeah, this parcel was annexed for 2025 into the city of Pocatello. Current assessed value is equitable with the neighbors. They do have with the power pole, which is the appellant, one of the appellant's concerns, there's about a 25-foot space for a driveway opening. And so our office is suggesting that we apply an influence for that restricted opening, which would drop the assessed value to $31,810.
Okay. We have a recommendation from the assessor. Any discussion on this parcel?
I'd make a motion that we uphold the adjusted value per the assessor's request.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. With that, we are adjourned for the day.